Stets, can you hear us? Check one. Okay, we'll figure it out. All right, so let's see here. 50 minutes, 50 seconds away here on the Mitch Albom Show. We are live.
Hi. How's everybody doing?
Hi, everybody. All right. Kingpin Rieger should be joining us shortly.
Okay.
Should be joining us presently. But maybe not before the show starts. Hello, everyone on Facebook. Ooh. Am I hearing myself back? I did hear myself back.
Hi. How's everybody doing? Can I hear the station?
You will. A commercial is playing right now. You'll hear it in 10 seconds.
All right.
All right, I'm going.
Welcome to Albom in the Afternoon, debut performance on this, the second day of 1996.
This is an unusual guy, this Mitch Albom.
The Mitch Albom Show! Glad to have you with us both on MSNBC and all across the nation. Kenny Brown.
The most dominant co-host in the game.
Hey, Mitch! The longest running afternoon show in Detroit radio. The Mitch Albom Show starts now. Here's special guest host, Sean Baligian.
I couldn't help but notice the conversation that Guy Gordon was just having at the tail end of the show. And hopefully you were listening to Guy, and you listen to Guy every day here on 760 WJR. They were talking about the latest with the mail-ins and, of course, President Trump's comments today and everything that's going on. And I hope that everybody is prepared for this. Prepared for what? Prepared for this. This election cycle is going to be an absolute disaster. No matter what happens, no matter how it happens. Listen, I hate to be negative, Guy. There's nothing that anybody is going to be able to do to save that from happening. Nothing. Nothing. Zero. Zilch. Nada. It's not going to happen. And if you're asking yourself, how can I say that? If you think 2016 was bad, if you think 2000 was bad, Mike Parsons and I were just talking about that. That was such a fascinating night. It was such a fascinating night, the night of the 2000 election. And I ended up staying up till 5 a.m, just watching the coverage. And I remember telling myself, if I hear the term hanging Chad one more time, I'm going to lose my mind. It was, pure insanity. And then everything that happened after that. Honest to goodness, do you think with everything going on in the world right now, with everything going on in the United States of America, do you think that anybody that loses the election is going to just go quietly into the night? Honest, my goodness gracious, with all the conspiracies that are out there from every direction, do you think there's any way possible that whoever loses, whatever election, and it's close in any way, shape, or form, so many of elections around the country are going to be contested. This is going to be a disaster. So I'm telling you, on July 30th, and I'm sure most of you have already added 1 + 1 here, because really it is that simple. This is a 1 + 1. It is going to be a disaster. And especially at the presidential level, if President Trump wins, who's it going to be this time? Is it going to be khaki pants? Is it going to be Ukraine? Is it going to be Peru? Who's going to? And if Joe Biden wins, it's going to be all about the mail-in. This is going to be a disaster. I think we all better just set our watches for it. Mike Parsons, you might work 48 straight hours. I'm just warning you right now. You might be working 48 straight hours.
Well, going back to what you said, Sean, if it's close, I think that, in order for it to be a definitive clean win, someone's going to have to win in a landslide. But, this election night's not going to be like the traditional election nights, right? Like, election night always felt like a season finale of the last 18 months of your life, because by the end of the night, for the most part, except for the year 2000, you found out who won. And now, just by virtue of the increase of mail-in in voting, a lot of Secretary of States from around the country are saying you might not know on election night who wins. You may have to wait till Thursday or Friday, and that's a conservative estimate.
It is. Just everybody get ready. Lord knows there's enough news to talk about with another executive order from Governor Whitmer. My hockey is back. Barbecue was canceled. Sorry, guys. I have to adhere to the executive order. I hope you understand that. Like Mike Parsons, I know you and I were talking about it. I hope you can understand why I just don't think it's a good idea to have 25, 30 people come over my house.
Just pick 10 of your favorite. The other 15 will understand.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll understand. And I know our buddy back in traffic today, we'll check in with him momentarily, Michael Stetz. He'll understand as well, because he's a big fan of the Smoker. The Smoker has brought me so much joy during these uncertain times. As always, love to get your thoughts. 877-44-MITCH. Have you accepted that this is going to be a disaster? Whether your guy wins, your guy loses, it's inconsequential. This is going to be a disaster, this election cycle. I also want to get into something that we talked about at the very end of the show yesterday, because I thought it was an interesting conversation. We had a guy call in, and Mike Parsons, make sure that I'm telling this correctly. And he felt that I was misleading the audience, and I wasn't doing my job, something along those lines. I forget exactly how he said it. And I said, well, what do you mean? And he said, because you keep saying that a lockdown wouldn't work. And I said, well, it didn't work. If you're talking about eradicating COVID-19, it didn't work. We went through that. And he said, well, I'm talking about a total lockdown. And, we got done with the show and I thought about it. And listen, the likelihood of a total lockdown is zero. Like, can we start there? The likelihood of a total lockdown, I'm talking pulling the plug and saying, everybody shut her down for 2-3 weeks. It's zero. Okay. Well, now why do I say that? Because you have enough people out there that have an issue with wearing a mask. So you think that they're just going to go, okay, I'm going to stay home. I'm not going to do anything for 2 or 3 weeks. It's not going to happen, okay? But it was interesting. I thought about it, and, he said so he knows it would make it go away. And I guess in theory, if every single human being stayed home, maybe it would, okay? But the likelihood of that happening is nothing. We all know that. Because, again, you have people that just refuse to wear masks, which I don't understand. I wear a mask, no big deal. We'll wait and see if that's the answer, okay? The question that I wanted to throw out there, just a couple things at once, because this is all about conversation. If you were told, let's shut her down for 2-3 weeks, we'll make this go away, would you be down for it? Because I think the answer for a lot of people would be heck to the no. Let's take a look at traffic. Michael Stetz here on 760 WJR.
You back to work. Reserve your appointment today. Call 800-935-5959 in Brighton, Shelby, and Bloomfield, or RestoreWellnessCenter.com. In the city right now, you're stop and go on 75 northbound between Dearborn Street and the Ambassador Bridge. In Oakland County, an accident in the road construction area on 75 northbound at 11 Mile. That has the right shoulder blocked. You're moving slowly from 8 Mile. And in Wayne County, an accident on the Jeffries eastbound at Martin Luther King Boulevard that has the right lane blocked. Now, WJR weather first from the Weather Channel.
Lower humidity behind a summertime cold front feeling nice here to close down the work week. 63 downtown with some 50s north side. 82 Friday afternoon with sunshine, and low 80s with comfortable humidity Saturday. Rain showers return Sunday, Monday, early next week. I'm Scott Laurie Moore at the Weather Channel on News Talk 760 WJR.
Now through September 6th, you'll experience
Okay, hang on the line, okay? Emily in the on the Big Island. Always nice to hear from Emily. Hi, Emily. Hi, Emily.
Clay, super listener, checking in.
Oh, Clay, you know what? I would love to get the Big Green Egg. I have the Traeger, and I have it hooked up to my phone, which is just awesome. But the Big Green Egg, it's funny because a buddy of mine does his stuff on the Big Green Egg, and I do my stuff on the Traeger, and we compare notes every week. It's unbelievable. But I'm happy with my Traeger. Right? Stats has a Traeger as well, right, Stats?
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
It's unbelievable. It's game changer to me. It really is. JP, thank you. Appreciate that. JP McCarthy. Didn't we all grow up with JP? Didn't you grow up with JP, Mike?
No, a little before my time.
A little bit before your time. You know who JP is, right? Stets is in New York. JP McCarthy, just legend.
Very well of the legend, yeah.
Yeah, did mornings forever at JR. We've been fortunate to have, JP and then Paul W. Like, are you kidding me? It's tremendous.
There's someone I grew up with.
Yes, Mrs.
Mom.
Parsons.
Hi,
Mom Parsons.
By the way, that's not a picture of her. She's not that young. That's my niece James as her profile picture. Thank you, Bart.
Clay
She's
said
young.
hitting a total shutdown would be like telling people to go slow on 696. It's not going to happen. I love the theory. That sure it'd be. Honestly, if they said shut her down, 2 weeks, done. Everybody stay home, lock yourselves inside your house. Okay, let's go. If it makes us go away. But unfortunately, we can't get people to wear dumb masks. That's where we're at as a society.
What happens is, yes, when people stay inside, the numbers go down. But once it's lifted and we start leaving our houses and going out in public, the numbers shoot back up.
Yeah. John said Sean needs more cannot see his face. Is that better? Is that my good side?
I don't know.
My good side?
Looking handsome as ever.
Kingpin has some lighting tips that he can give you once he's done taking phone calls here.
Clay shares my birthday, by the way. I didn't. Okay, he just put his birthday on there. Hi, Clay.
Oh, happy belated birthday! A month and 10 days late.
Yeah. Good times.
So this is behind the scenes shop talk. Sean, are you hearing the traffic sounder better today?
Yes.
Okay, beautiful.
Immensely. That was awesome. Yeah, yesterday it was just, I don't have to go over it.
Right.
Emily, by the way, if you're still out there, did I tell you how much I love Lanai? Lanai was just, it was heaven on earth to me. It really was.
Porch from the Golden Girls?
The Quiet Island. I think that's what they call it in Hawaii. The Quiet Island.
That's also where they eat their cheesecake.
Really?
Out on the Lanai. Well, on the
Really?
Golden Girls, yeah.
Jeez.
Kingpin's in.
Okay, can you guys hear me good?
I can.
No, I'm not 52. We have the same birth date, but I'm just a few years younger than you.
Not the same
Not
born on
much.
date.
Not much, but just a few.
Here we go. 10 seconds.
All right.
You're listening to the Mitch Albom Show on News Talk 760 WJR. Filling in for Mitch, Sean Baligian.
All right, as always, love to get your thoughts. So much to talk about. That's why, at the beginning of the show, you kind of set the table. These times are crazy. There's no other word for it, okay? And this is a situation that I think this is why a radio station like WJR has the lasting presence that it does, because this is a place where you get to tell us what's on your mind. 877-44-MITCH. That is the number. Let's go to my old stomping grounds. Grew up at 7 in Merriman. Proud Livonia kid. Ken, thank you very much for your patience. You're on 760 WJR.
Well, I'd like to address two issues that you touched on. First of all, regarding the election, since the Democrats, since the beginning of the Trump administration, have been trying to get him out of office, and since it's pretty clear that they'll do everything they can to cheat during the upcoming election, I do believe it will be a zoo it's going to be a mess. Now, just for the record, I am going to vote for Donald Trump, but it is going to be a zoo, as I said earlier. Second, regarding, you brought up the masks and you brought up the shutdown issue.
Yep. Yeah.
Now, since I make my decisions based on the advice I get from, 1, my primary care physician, 2, the group of doctors that he's affiliated with, and 3, I listen to a lot of independent conservative talk radio programs and other conservative information sources. And since all these doctors that I listen to say, 1, wearing a face mask is completely useless, and 2, actually will increase your chance of getting sick from being exposed to concentrations of bacteria that accumulate on the mask, I just couldn't support, 1, any more shutdowns. I say open everything up. And 2, I could not support any type of wearing a mask, because wearing a mask is just useless. And
well, here's the thing, Ken, and we're going to move on, because I think you are the perfect example, and I hope that you take this in the proper context, okay? You are the perfect example as to why I told the caller who called in late in the show yesterday, a total lockdown is never, ever going to happen. Ever. It is, I mean, idealistic. I think it's disrespectful to the word idealistic to say that a total lockdown would make this go away. People aren't going to adhere to it. They aren't. I've said it once. I've said it 1,000 times on the show. I don't know about a mask. I'm wearing one. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I don't feel like it's infringing on my freedoms or anything like that. I'm wearing it. It's because, again, to me, it's no big deal. But if you're not going to talk people into even trying a mask for 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, do you honestly think that people are going to say, yes, let's stay home for 2, 3, 4 weeks and see if this will go away? Again, it's disrespectful to even the word idealistic to think that that is plausible. 877-44-MITCH, that is the number. Why don't we go next to Sean in Northville? I'm a Sean in Northville. Sean, thanks for your patience. You are on 760 WJR.
Shawnee, how you doing?
What's up, bud?
Well, I actually know you. Our kids were in music class together a long time ago.
Oh, but, no kidding.
Anyways.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So, yeah, lockdown, lockdown had a chance a long time ago. I don't think you can, tell people, hey, stay in your house for 2 weeks. They should have done that a long time ago.
Yep.
With a guarantee, like guaranteed, you stay in your house 2 weeks and we reopen everything. Otherwise you're never going to get everyone to stay in their house.
Never. It's Sean, I'm 100% with you. I mean, I keep saying this in the aftermath and appreciate the phone call. I hope you and the family are well. Honest to goodness, as I sit here today, I honestly think that was just a giant waste of time. It did bring the numbers down. In fairness, it did bring the numbers down. But if the end game is, as a piece in the Harvard Medical School came up with today, and I want to touch on a few things from an interesting story, because they came out and said that 13 states should be locked down now, today. Believe it or not, Michigan was not one of them, but they said the end game should be eradicating this. Okay. If we go have a lockdown, all right, we're just going to play hide and seek with this, just like we did back in the spring. It's all it was hide and seek. We hid for a while, and then it was time to come out. The numbers went down for a while, and then the numbers went back up. Why would this time be any different? You're not going to get people to buy into that. It really is that simple. 877-44-MITCH. Let's go to Fenton. That's where we find Jen. Jen, glad you can join us here on 760 WJR. Good afternoon.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How about yourself?
Great. Actually, my name is Sharon. And
Sharon,
I just wanted
Jen.
to put up that, yes.
All right.
Sharon, S-H-A. And yeah, I just want to put this out there. When our governor came out last week and said, oh, you don't have to wear a mask to the polls. We recommend it, but it's not necessary. But I walked into Costco and I have to put my mask on. It's mandatory. My only thought is that possibly could it be deliberate that she would like to see people go to the polls without their mask, and then we have the spike in COVID, and she can say, well, people went to the polls and they got COVID. Now we can have to do mail-in ballots for the general election. I smell a rat somewhere. I just
listen,
don't get it.
I don't right now, and I'll go back to what we talked about at the very beginning of the show and piggyback on what you just said, and I appreciate the phone call. Right now, there are too many skeptical people on all sides of the room, okay? On either side of the aisle. Half the people don't trust what they say. Half the people don't trust what they say. There are people out there like me that listen, science isn't infallible. Science has made mistakes in this, but at the same time, I'm not dismissing science. I'm not calling Fauci, some crackpot or anything like that. But if we're going to be adult about this and we're going to have adult conversation, we have to say, hey, some of the things that they've said didn't happen. Some of the things that we were warned about didn't happen. Some of them did. And that's where we're at right now. So it was interesting because, again, I keep citing this piece out of Harvard Medical that I'll get to in a second. They even said that's one of the big hangups right now. People want clear, concise, and consistent news and direction. And you know what? Again, if we're being adult, I don't care what side of the political aisle you sit on. Can anybody say we've had that in the last 6 months? Because if you do say that, you're lying. Come on now. Numbers is always 877-44 Mitch. We've got to take a look at traffic. We have news at the bottom of the hour as well. We'll come back. I'll hit on this piece that I've been teasing from Harvard Medical. But first, why don't we take a look at traffic with Michael Stetz?
On 75 northbound between Dearborn Street and the Ambassador Bridge. In Washington County, an accident on US 23 northbound at M36 that has the left lane blocked. And in Lyon Township, an accident on 96 eastbound at Novi Road that's blocking the right shoulder. Now WJR Weather first from the Weather Channel, sponsored by Gordon Chevrolet, where you pick out the vehicle you would love to drive and receive a worksheet with 18 different purchase and lease agreements for you to choose from. And do this from the comfort of their outdoor showroom with covered patio seating. Gordon Chevrolet on Ford Road, just west of Merriman, Garden City. GordonChevrolet.com. Gordon Chevrolet, find new roads. Partly cloudy tonight with a low of 63. Cloudy again for Friday with a high of 82. Right now it's 79 degrees. I'm Michael Stetz. WJR News in 2 minutes.
Pandemic and beyond. If you run a business,
All right,
gentlemen.
Look at Lauren Crocker. Hi, Lauren Crocker. I'm familiar with her work. Do you guys know Lauren Crocker?
Stats, have you met Lauren Crocker?
Lauren, do you know Lauren? I think you guys would make a good couple.
She's you guys
would make a good couple. She's all right. Right.
She's all right.
Well, that was nice. Now let's argue.
Speaking of Trump, what is the problem with moving or canceling the election? We have canceled or moved everything else. You know what, Clay? And there's more coming too. That's the worst part. The one thing, and Stetz, I'm intrigued. I don't think the NFL is going to be moved. I really don't. And we can have a debate whether they should. I don't think the NFL is going to be moved. Have you heard anything different about that?
No, they're going to trudge forward. No, I mean, if they're going to trudge forward, if there's a bunch of ham and eggers playing out there pretending to be NFL players, they're just adamant about going forward. They've had the most time amongst all the leagues to prepare, and it seems like they've wasted time.
I agree.
Because they're going to go forward. There's going to be positive tests. How are they going to react to it? I think there'll be delays. I think there'll be some hangups, but ultimately they're going to keep playing games.
I got to tell you guys, on Monday, if you told me that on Thursday the MLB would still be playing, I would have bet money against you. I'm shocked that, at least from what we saw on Monday morning, that on Thursday the MLB is still playing. But I that's why I'm watching, to see if the NFL will be able to start and finish their season the way the MLB handles it, because they're the only sport that's playing without a bubble right now.
Yeah. Emily said we are a rise in cases here, not open to tourists. Challenges are increasing. Hopefully people can keep conversing and learning and looking out for each other and wear a mask. I listen, I don't get the mask thing. I've said it once. I said it. I thought, just wear a mask. It's not, I don't get it. I just, come on, social distance, wear a mask. It's not that big of a deal.
It's like one of the easiest things you can do.
Yeah.
Hard. It's not hard.
It's easy. It's easy for me to say, though. I wear it maybe 12 minutes a day, and that's when I'm going to the grocery store or the gas station for a certain item.
My rule of thumb is think of a nurse. When you're complaining about going to Costco or going to Kroger or Trader Joe's or wherever you shop, think of a nurse who has to work a 12-hour shift.
Yeah.
With a mask on and stop complaining. It's not that hard to do for a small amount of time.
Clay said I would probably still have a job if we did a 2-week lockdown end of March. Clay, I'm sorry, man. That just that sucks. It's no other way to say it.
You know, I think that's a big fear of everyone who's been lucky enough to keep working through this. You know, how long is this going to be sustainable? You know, you're lucky to be working now, but the longer this thing goes on, the more companies are just going to flat out run out of money to operate.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah, everybody do what you need to do. You know, that's the way that I look at it. But Stats, have you done anything? I did short ribs the other day.
I did a 3-pound piece of brisket the other day.
How'd it turn out?
Came out great.
Yeah.
I have an 8-pound pork butt waiting to go.
Get in there.
Yeah, that's next. And then I want to try plate ribs.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like on the radar. But yeah, there's anything and everything I can try out on the Traeger. It's just, it's life altering, as you've experienced now for a couple months.
Sean, I did an egg cheese sandwich.
Good job, Dave.
How about that?
Where did you do the egg cheese sandwich?
In a little pan on the stove. How about that?
You learned it on TikTok, which is the best.
Learned it on TikTok.
That's where Dave gets all his cooking and news exclusively.
Rieger's got to do one of those TikTok dances as he makes his egg cheese sandwich.
Right.
TikTok got a bowling pin in one hand. It'd be awesome.
That should be the challenge before the end of the show. Dave has to learn a TikTok dance and do it for us.
Yeah, there you go.
What are the kids listening to on TikTok, Dave?
I just saw this TikTok video about making this breakfast sandwich. It looked good. I don't really cook, so that was it. That was a win for Dave Rieger.
Hold on, I gotta write down a list of things that Dave likes because we have to counteract.
You're not going to be busy.
Yeah. So Dave
all right, that's it.
cider mills and conies, but he likes Las Vegas and TikTok, and that's it.
Oh man, it's good times. I thought Sean would be really impressed. Apparently not.
I'm always impressed by you.
I mean, I know Dave Rieger's cooking skills, so I am very impressed.
Yeah.
All right, he's not working with a lot there.
What is it that Stats says? You said that. What do you say about my childhood when it comes to food?
I think your mom, tortured you with bad food. I really do. I love Freda, but I mean, I don't know. I think she tortured you.
Well, Stats, this is the same guy who on Tuesday asked why you can't get cider and donuts at a supermarket. I mean,
can you believe that? I've awakened like the last 2 nights thinking about that. Just screaming.
You drive into the parking lot and the aroma just is in the air.
My wife has found me in the middle of the night sitting at the edge of the bed, and she says, "Honey, what's wrong?" I said, "Something Dave said at work."
supermarket.
That's as a transplant. What are your thoughts on it? Have you discovered cider mills here?
I love them. I love them. I hope we're able to go in the fall, because just getting that hot brown bag of donuts and sipping cider, it's just everything. It's everything about the fall I love in the Mitten State.
Absolutely.
How is it crispy and greasy at the same time?
One of life's greatest mysteries.
All right, Rieger, up next, Bob. Bob on the line.
You're listening to the Mitch Albom Show on News Talk 760 WJR. Filling in for Mitch, Sean Baligian.
Well, you can listen the old-fashioned way here on 760 WJR or participate on Facebook Live. And as Clay just said on our Facebook Live page, why don't we just roll with the Facebook Live all day? Yes, I'm down. We're having fun conversation amongst ourselves and with you here on 760 WJR and on Facebook Live. But we'll get back to your phone calls now at 877-44-MITCH. Let's head to Jackson. That's where we find Bob. Bob, thank you for your patience, sir. You are on 760 WJR. Good afternoon, Bob.
Hey, how you doing, Sean?
Great. You?
Good. It really makes me nervous on my absentee ballot. It gives me the option to sign. If I had 5,000 absentee ballots, I could sign my name to every one of them.
Yep.
And as long as I had a list of names, and I could have them all turned in, and it opens it up for tons of fraud. Why can't we just have one person, one vote?
Couldn't agree with you more. And, we all know horror stories. Bob, I don't know about you. I know two people that got multiple ballots to the same address, And, one guy flat out told me, I had half a mind to just fill them out because I know the other guy is going to do it. I mean, that's why we don't have a snowball's chance in Hades at anybody looking at this from the losing side and saying, well, this was a legitimate result. There's no way that's going to happen.
The thing is, too, is the fact that wasn't it said that in Detroit that the person in charge of the postal service there told the postal workers that if they didn't feel they could handle all the mail, that they could actually keep it at the post office or at the distributing center and not deliver it.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's going to be interesting. I appreciate the phone call. Just a different perspective here. Kelly on our Facebook Live page said, how hard is it to believe that mail-in vote works? Truly, Utah, Colorado, I hate the propaganda people spew without data to support it. Kelly, those are the times that we live in, period. Let's say that I didn't know anybody that had and showed me 5 ballots that came to their house. Let's pretend that didn't happen. Do you think anybody's going to buy it on the up and up? Honestly, I'm with you in theory. Okay, this really doesn't have to be that difficult. Unfortunately, there are mistakes when these things are mailed out, and multiple ballots have been mailed out. We all know the story there. So that leads to this. And of course, the other half of that is, God forbid your side loses. Well, then, of course, it can't be because your candidate lost because they were the perfect candidate. It must be because of fraud. And I mean, we've lived that, whether it be the 2000 election or the 2016 election. And if we think those were bad, my humble opinion, I think it's going to skyrocket this year. I really do. Numbers again, 877-44-MITCH. That's 877-44-MITCH. Let's go to Redford. That's where we find Candy. Candy, good afternoon. You're on 760 WJR. Hi, Candy.
I never would have thought that any election could be hijacked until the last couple of weeks. We used to supervisor and took all of our away, the board, a year and a half ago, and decided that they were going to appoint a superintendent and pay her a large salary without any vote of the people. Then, on top of that, we didn't have any newspaper to cover it until about a month ago. And they brought out in the paper what had happened with that board. They've got 4 women well, 3 women in our treasurer who run everything. They have illegal meetings. It's like a nightmare. Yeah. And the last thing they just did, they waited until 2 weeks before the election. And one of the board members decided that the clerk's views in the paper were defamation to her. Well, I certainly didn't see it, but she actually got a judge that came in, closed down the clerk's office, told the clerk and all the staff to leave 2 weeks before our election. Mr. Allen, the attorney for the township, went back, and yesterday they said, no, you can't do that, and they bring the clerk and the staff back. Well, what happened to the absentee ballot in between? These people, had the right to handle, no one else did.
I think, Candy, the long and short of this, whether people, and some people were chatting with one on Facebook Live, and I appreciate the phone call, by the way. Whether you think there's fraud going on or not is inconsequential, in my humble opinion, because there are enough people out there that already think that fraud is going on. And as I said, this isn't a recent phenomenon, but I firmly believe with everything going on in this particular election cycle, what happened in 2000 with hanging chads, what happened in 2016 with fill in the blank was trying to get Donald Trump elected, I think that's child's play compared to what we're going to see. I really do. Kelly pointed out Trump's voter fraud commission was disbanded because of lack of fraud. JP said, I'm going to vote 7 times because I have 7 ballots. And there are tons of stories like that. And this is a situation where, do we know for sure that they're going to only accept 1? How do you police it? I mean, it's opened itself up to skepticism. And all it takes is a crack. And in today's society where everybody's got a conspiracy theory going on one way or the other, that crack is all you need. Let's take a look at traffic here on 760 WJR. Here's Michael Stats.
In the city, you're stop and go right now on 75 northbound between Dearborn Street and the Ambassador Bridge. In Wayne County, an accident on 94 westbound at Van Dyke that has the left 2 lanes blocked. You're stop and go from Chalmers Street. And in Warren County, an accident on 696 westbound at Ryan Road that has you at stop and go from Mound Road. Now, WJR weather first from the Weather Channel, sponsored by Parkway Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Attention new car buyers, Parkway Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is offering exclusive lease savings on its entire inventory of new Jeep Compasses, Cherokees, and Grand Cherokees during the Jeep Summer Clearance event. Parkway Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Hall Road in Clinton Township. Just show up, sign up, and ride.
Comfortable numbers in the forecast right on into our late week with temps tonight down to 63 degrees downtown and some 50s north part of the state. 82 with comfortable low humidity Friday, Saturday, and 83 degrees on Saturday afternoon. I'm Scott Laurie Moore at the Weather Channel on News Talk 760 WJR.
Back in.
Hi.
Hi there.
Sean, you said you did short ribs?
Yeah, I did short ribs the other day. It was the first time I did them. I had like a real butcher cut the short ribs for me and then kind of tell me how to do it. And do you know what it reminded me of, Stets? It reminded me of like the first bite had that brisket feel. Like it just melted in my mouth. It was, the almost the top of the short rib was, and it's, if you look, I mean, I don't, but for anybody else out there, the short rib is like right next to the brisket on the cow. So it was very brisket-esque the first bite.
Nice.
I spent about 2 hours going to a bunch of different stores looking for short rib the other day because I saw a recipe on TV, and they're hard to find.
Now, I don't know what the legalese is here. Am I allowed to tell you the place to go to get short ribs, or is that like an endorsement? I don't want to get myself in trouble.
Why don't you tell us, and then if we get in trouble, you'll know we're not supposed to do it.
Or I can text you.
You were tweeting about it the other day, Sean.
Yes, I was tweeting about it the other day. Yes.
Ooh, drive traffic to the Twitter. Very savvy. Yeah.
I want to check that place out because I need a good butcher to get like big cuts for the smoker. There are a lot of those cuts you can't get in the store, like a big brisket or something like that.
Stats, I'm not, no endorsement or anything. That place is legit. Like cool. I'm not getting anything. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't want you to think it's legit. I went there and I was like, ooh, it was pretty cool.
Hi, friend, Sean Baligian here. I've been talking about short rib for a while.
We turned the commercial breaks into meat talk.
Was that the picture you took with those two other guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We need a podcast called Meat Sweats.
Right.
I think Clay Jerky is I think he's the official Facebook Live historian. Someone asked why we're not on. Why don't we do the whole show?
I would love to. It'd be fun.
Yeah.
I'm down.
I would love to.
Clay Jerky says the 5:30 show is resistant to it, which is odd because they're the ones who do it every day. 9 to 12, I've only seen it once. 12 to 3 is already on video. 3 to 5 was fun when the phones went down. That happened with Kevin Dietz on Monday.
Public support for live afternoon is swelling.
What's that, Michael?
Public support for the live show in the afternoon is swelling.
We're ahead.
People have spoken. They want Sean.
One of my mom's friends checking in.
Hi, Bar. Hi, Tony.
I call her Bar.
JP said long ribs. No, I have beef ribs, and I had the short ribs, but I do have the beef ribs, which are like I guess you could say that's the version of the long ribs as opposed to the short ribs. I guess you could say that. I have a big rack that I'm going to do on Monday.
The meat, when the meat peels back and the bone sticks out, it looks like a Fred Flintstone dinner. Oh.
It's incredible. It really like what he just described is like totally on to everybody out there. Like it just kind of rolls up the bone. Oh, it's so good.
So we're back in 30, Sean, but Sean, you're going to have to tell us in the next break what you're going to do with all that meat that you plan on cooking up for Monday. You're going to have to eat it all yourself?
Darn, twist my arm. No, you know what? I'm having a couple neighbors over because they've been over anyway. You know what I mean? I was going to ask, like not only all you guys, but, I know I had talked to a couple of them and I wanted to ask Stetson. I'm not going to do it. It's not smart.
You're listening to the Mitch Albom Show on News Talk 760 WJR. Filling in for Mitch, Sean Baligian.
Lots of things to talk about. We threw some things out there when we set the table this afternoon. I do want to touch on this story that appeared today, and I sent it to Dave Rieger. It was from Harvard University's Global Health Institute, and they said that there are 13 states that should shut down now, that they are like in the danger zone, not the highway to the danger zone. They are already in the danger zone, Kenny Loggins. Michigan is not one of them, but there was a line in here that really jumped out to me, and I'm so happy that scientists are starting to say things like this, because unfortunately there are people out there that think that everything that we've heard is the gospel and we have to trust the experts. We have to listen to everything that the experts have said, and that's difficult to do. Why? Because some of the things that have been said are no longer believed any longer. And science is something that changes, and what we learn about something, it also changes. And this was a great line. It said, quote, "The public needs clear and consistent information about COVID risk levels in different jurisdictions for personal decision-making, and policymakers need clear and consistent visibility that permits differentiating policy across jurisdictions." Bam. And that's the frustrating thing right now, because there are people that like they don't want to admit that some things that were said are no longer believed. This has been a fluid type of situation. And I've said this once, I will say it 10,000 times. Look, I'm not saying that quote unquote science is wrong, but science has been wrong during this process, guys.
Well,
that's not political. That's real.
The scientific method wasn't meant for the 24-hour news cycle. I mean,
you got
it. Before you actually settle on settled science, you have to test and retest your hypothesis thousands of times until you reach a consensus. And that's just not a great idea when it comes to a virus that's been around for less than a year, because today this study might say one thing, and then tomorrow that same study will show completely different results, and then they report on that, and then you don't know which end is up, and you have a completely different understanding based on what newscasts you watch, what website you followed, and it leads to more confusion.
Yep, good call. Numbers as always, 877-44-MITCH. We'll head back to the phone line now. Mr. Rieger, I believe we've got George in Detroit hanging on the line. George, thank you very much for your patience. You're on 760 WJR.
Hi, Sean.
Hi, George.
There was a study in 2005 with Jimmy Carter was on the panel and some other ex-politicians or whatever, I think, and they studied voter fraud and found out that 83% of the voter fraud was mail in ballots. So that tells you something right there. But that's not what I really want to talk about. People can look that up. It's kind of interesting. But I wanted to talk about the numbers and I wanted to defend real quick Louis Gohmert. All right.
Okay.
People are on him and they're kind of nah. You're the big don't wear a mask guy, and now you got the COVID. It's like now I know you know this. I'm asking you of sorts of rhetorical question, but I want you to affirm it. What's the main purpose? You wear a mask, or why I might wear a mask?
Really to protect others, right?
Exactly. So why are you on Louis Gohmert? He's got it because somebody else didn't wear a mask. If he'd have been wearing a mask, it wasn't protecting him from getting it. It was protecting, other people from giving it to him. So come on, get off him right here, whatever. But the thing I wanted to compare the numbers of Sweden and Florida and Michigan. All right. Sweden, I do this all the time, but I've been following very closely. And the metrics, I'm not going to go into it. It takes too long, but they're very favorable with Michigan. 10 million people versus 10 million, 2 million for their three biggest cities, 1 million for ours. They actually had their first death 8 days before we did. And they were about 19,000 cases less than us right along since I've been following this every day since the end of April. And then they we're catching up, got about 5,000 cases away. And they were about 1,100 deaths until like about June. And then it's at 700, which has been staying there for about 10 days now. There's 700 less deaths. And now we've pushed ahead to 10,000 more cases than they have. You're hard pressed to find a mask in Sweden. All right. They did a little social distancing, but the mask was optional, not mandatory. They didn't shut down businesses or schools. Now people look at, Florida. Florida did today. They passed Michigan by about 100 cases. But Florida, they say, there was a controversy over this, has had 451,000 cases. We've had 90,000, and we have 6,400 deaths. They have 6,500 deaths now. Florida is 22.5 million people. We're 9.9 million. They have twice as many blacks, twice as many Latinos, twice as many elderly. So our death rate in Michigan is like over 9 times that of Florida. So, but look at Florida, look at it. Then they tried to, earlier today, protect the governor. Well, Cuomo, yeah, he put people in the nursing homes, but he was going according to the CDC and the WHO and the whoever, and he didn't know. And so the governor, Whitmer, she didn't know either. Well, how come DeSantis knew it? And he has more nursing homes and seniors in Florida. He saw through that with common sense and said, we're not going to put seniors in that are COVID infected with other seniors. We're going to take care of them, so have the lowest rate. So you got Fauci praising New York. 33,000 dead there. They had more dead in the nursing homes than Florida has right now, and they're 2.5 million less people and less seniors. So come on, do a little more research. I mean,
George,
I'm
you know
a
what it comes
research
back
freak.
to? I mean, to me, and I'm sorry, I'm going to keep banging this. This isn't going anywhere. We're going to have to face it one way or the other. Like that, hide and seek. Said it once. I've said 6 months now. Okay, it's not going anywhere. Will this be the time if we go hide for a month? Let's say we go backwards and we hide. When it's time to come out, will COVID just be gone? Will COVID just it knows where the border of Michigan is and kind of creep over the other borders and bother them, but it won't go head back into Michigan? Like we're going to have to face this. And again, I want to be crystal clear: social distance, wear a mask, do what you have to do to keep yourself and keep others safe. But I'm sorry, this isn't. Listen, we've seen it in other places. It's going to stick around. We're going to have to face this. We're going to have to carry on. Do I have enough? I don't think I have enough time. To those of you hanging on the line, please do me a favor. Hang on the line. We'll get to you as soon as we come back. We've got a look at traffic in just a few seconds here on 760 WJR. I want to get more into this story that came out of the Harvard Medical School because, again, I don't want somebody to listen. I'm not an anti-science guy. I'm not at all. But I can't help but chuckle when I point out to you where science got this wrong or got that wrong and moved away from it. Now, if you want to use the word wrong, you can use the word wrong. If you want to say, no, science learned that wasn't the case, but this was the case, it's real. Like and people get, oh, I can't believe how dumb you are. No, I can't believe how blind you are that you haven't seen that. And unfortunately for some people, they don't have the capabilities to say what I'm saying. It's like, well, I get it. They made a mistake here. They made a mistake there. This is something new. I'm willing to allow a wiggle room. Some people have that all or nothing mentality. But the first thing that we have to do is acknowledge that happened. And unfortunately, that's half the battle. We've got signs and stats with traffic coming up in just a few seconds here on 760 WJR. News at the top of the hour. So glad you could join us. It's a Thursday night in Detroit. No place I'd rather be than right here on 760 WJR. Here's Michael Stats. Hey, Parsons.
In the city, your stop and go right now on 75 northbound between Dearborn Street and the Ambassador Bridge. In Warren County, an accident on 696 westbound at Ryan Road. Your stop and go from Van Dyke. And in Wayne County, an accident on 94 westbound at Van Dyke. That has you stop and go from Chalmers Street. That's the left 2 lanes that are blocked there. Expect delays in the area. Now, WJR weather first from the Weather Channel. Cloudy tonight with a low of 63. Partly cloudy for Friday, with a high tomorrow of 82. Right now it's 79 degrees. I'm Michael Stetz, WJR News in 2 minutes.
Did you hear that? What was that?
Yeah, I don't know.
That was.
Rieger, can you reset order for me?
That was
Sure.
my bad.
I'll reset the order for you. Yeah.
I'm still potted up.
Parsons and Stats, I'm going to send you guys a text and tell you what that place is because I don't want to get myself in trouble. You know what I mean?
Well, you're not going to send it to me? I mean, come on.
You're not going to go there.
How do you know?
They don't have eggs and cheese.
How do you know? What is this?
Okay.
When I could just order it from a place like Billy Sims and just.
I love Billy Sims barbecue. Billy Sims brisket is great.
I miss it.
Dave, there used to be this great place called the Wonder Bread Outlet. You would have loved it.
When I was a kid, the Ari place in Livonia.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. They would take me to the outlet store. It was unbelievable.
Oh, man.
Let me get this right.
Can't believe you're holding out on me with.
No, dude, I'm going to send it to you. I swear right now.
Very sad. I don't even know you anymore.
So, Sean, since we can't come to your place for the barbecue,
yeah,
is there a way we can work out coming and picking up leftovers or something?
You know that'd be funny if I had curbside delivery. You guys could all pop over with curbside delivery.
I have my mask on.
Well, why don't we do a bartering system? Like, I'll bring you a 6-pack of beer for a plate, something like that. That would be fun.
Yeah.
Dave will bring eggs and cheese. I don't know what I would bring.
Well, it was fun. I had been talking about it with, Fowler from 96.3 for our Facebook Live people. We've been talking about it for a while. So we literally just settled things. So I was going to send out to the guys that I work with and a few of my friends. And then there were a couple Red Wings that were going to come. And unfortunately, it's just a smart thing to do. There's no other way to say it. It's just a smart thing to do.
No,
and that's all we need. But that's all we need, right? A bunch of WJR personalities decided that in the midst of an executive order, they were going to have a big barbecue blowout, and guess what? That's all we need.
Right, and then the buzzwords say, well, they're all conservatives, so they don't believe in masks.
I'll show up at Grunt's house with a rifle and, you can't take my barbecue away.
While we blast the nooch.
I like what Kelly said. Can you put that back up there for a second? Science isn't wrong. It's evolving. The world was once flat too. And Kelly, see, but that's the thing to me. People first need to acknowledge that there have been mistakes, or if you want to say evolved, you can say that too. That's people have to acknowledge that. And I think so often it's because we're such an all or nothing society now. Like if I say, now wait a second, you first told me this, but now you're telling me that. Oh, you're a science denier? No, I'm not a science denier. I'm just saying you once told me this and now you're telling me that. And there are skeptical people out there that are going to go, these cracks don't know what they're talking about. I mean, that's where we're at today. That's just reality.
I think the context is that the scientists were learning, and we're still learning in real time.
Yes.
So they're not going to make any, it's not going to be perfect. They're going to have to learn along the way. I think that's the kind of thing. You can't just come out and all of a sudden have a vaccine. There's trial and error. You have to do things and learn how the virus works.
I honestly think there should be a weekly update. A weekly update of new science and new best practice, because like I said, the 24-hour news cycle, we're hungry for information on the virus, but it changes so much. There should be an official newsletter or something put out by an official agency saying, okay, here's still the best practices. Here's what's changed since last week. We thought this, but now learning every day, I think, just leads to more confusion. There needs to be
Well, you need to have an open mind. You can't be, everyone's waiting for a gotcha moment. That's the problem.
That's 1,000%. That's all it is. It is, aha, you don't know what you're doing. Ah, ha, you've got COVID. Oh, that's something to go ha about. Wow, he's sick. Wow.
There's some gross people right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple people on my friends list who are openly cavalier, almost to the point where they want someone to get on their back for not being cautious.
Yeah.
And I'm like, look, I hope you stay healthy, but you're really playing with fire here.
I said, is the virus covering something else more important than the election? What about child trafficking? Man, there's so many stories about that out there, man. I mean, as a parent of two kids, I mean, it's disgusting, and I pray to God that there isn't some kind of Ghislaine Maxwell, master list of important people and stuff. I mean, really, for the sanctity of society, I pray to God that isn't the case.
You're rooting for it to be a conspiracy theory because if it's true, it's horrific.
Yes. Like that Pizzagate thing. Please don't be true. None of it. I want none of it to be true.
From last I heard, Pizzagate wasn't true.
Yes.
And a lot of the same places that are touting the new allegations come from Pizzagate. So I take it with a grain of salt. I mean,
QAnon or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah.
I mean, hopefully it causes law enforcement to investigate. So if there is something going on, but I think Pizzagate was proven to be false. And in fact, didn't someone go in and try to shoot the place up because they believed the story?
I saw that. Yeah.
That's
Clay
scary.
said, I hope the island is not true. That's kind of been the island was real, right?
Yep.
It's just a question of who was there is the $1 million question,
Yeah, and I wish they would get the Ghislaine Maxwell trial underway, just so whatever the truth is will come out.
Yeah.
There could be some very interesting names on that list.
Yeah.
Kelly Matthews, I have to say, my 67-year-old dad makes fun of me for listening to WJR. Says only old white guys do, which he is. But man, I love hearing the other side views. Thanks for the talk.
Thank you.
There you go, Kelly Matthews. Makes me think she's a liberal who listens to the other side. That's why I never delete people off of Facebook.
No.
I mean, if I don't agree with them, because I want to know what they're thinking.
I feel the exact same way. I
mean, there's a couple people, it's like, okay, whatever you have to say is not worthwhile. But for the most part, it takes a lot for me to delete you off Facebook.
I've only deleted one person ever off of Facebook. So
Twitter is the cesspool. I just, I give somebody a couple opportunities, and then if they continue to be a jerk, I just block them. Like that, I just block them. Well, I had a guy last week, Parsons, when I was in with you and Laura last week. A guy all over me for like 2-3 days, and I was very polite. And then it got to the point I'm wasting moments of my life on somebody that does not want to have a conversation.
And that's why I don't engage in arguments on there anymore.
Yeah.
I call Twitter trolls the barnacles at the bottom of the boat.
Right.
You're listening to the Mitch Albom Show on News Talk 760 WJR. Filling in for Mitch, Sean Baligian.
We'll get right back to it. Nice conversation during the break. It's like the show within the show, right? We're having some good conversation on Facebook Live. Certainly invite you there. Or if you're listening the old-fashioned way, we appreciate that as well here on 760 WJR. I want to get to your calls. Thank you for being patient. Mike in Lake Orion, you are up next. Thanks for joining us tonight on 760 WJR. Hey, Mike.
Yeah, how you doing?
Tremendous.
This is Mike Zone.
What's up, Mike?
Good. Hey, I wanted to say something about the voting. I've got a suggestion. They might be able to figure out on the ballots what to do. This is real simple. With the technology today, if they still read the ballots with a computer, put a little square at the bottom of the ballot to put your thumbprint on. They run that through a computer. It tallies up the vote. If that thumbprint ever comes up duplicate times, boom, you throw it out. Real simple.
Oh, it's a good. I mean, it's really it's a thought. Yeah, Mike. You know what my issue is with this, because I firmly believe this. And thank you for the phone call. Could it be done? Is there some way? And let's, for the sake of an argument, let's use your thought as the baseline. Could it be done? I think it could. With technology being what it is today, I think it could. Are people in mass going to buy it? No way. There's too much skepticism. There's too much distrust, not only of the other side, but of the man himself. You know what I mean? And that's why, to me, while it's a great, I don't see it ever being accepted by people, because that's the society that we live in. Everybody, not everybody, strike that. I don't want to paint with a broad brush. So many people live under some kind of conspiracy theory where the other side is trying to get them, the man is trying to get them. I think the government's far too intrusive. That's just one man's opinion. I want less government in my life. Thank you very much. But to each their own. 877-44 Mitch. Let's go to Gloria in Clinton Township. Hi, Gloria. You're on 760 WJR.
Hey, Sean, I'm with you. Let's government all the way.
Less.
I got three fast things. Number one, you're right. This is not going anywhere fast. My mom was alive in the Spanish flu. Remember the years on that, folks. 1919. It was almost 3 years.
Yep.
Number two, if people are going to badmouth science, they must not have had my 9th grade biology teacher who stood there and looked at us very sternly and said, remember, in this class and all classes after this one in science, when a scientific statement is made, attach a silent trailer to every one of them. And that is so far as we know now.
It's a great way to put it. That's a great way to put it. Sure. I appreciate that. That's a great way to put it. And as I said, in this we have to be right society, I think we have to acknowledge that first. We have to acknowledge that, yes, the data that we're supposed to trust, when people say trust the experts, the data that we're supposed to trust from the experts has changed during this process. Now, again, I understand that. I'm okay with it. But on one side, I have people that say, well, I can't trust them at all. And on the other side, they go, no, it hasn't changed. And it's like, people like me, and it sounds like you, are left there going, sigh. 877-44 Mitch. It's funny that they mentioned that 1919, that thing came roaring back. And in case you did not know this, I was somebody who I came this close to going in a different profession, believe it or not, history. I wanted to do something with history. 1919, that thing came roaring back. It actually canceled the 1919 Stanley Cup Finals. Hockey fan and historian kind of meshed into one there. 877-44 Mitch. Let's go to Brian in New Boston. Brian, thank you very much for your patience. You're on 760 WJR.
Okay, hi. I just had a comment about the mail-in applications and total so many ways to cheat on that. I have one example I haven't heard from yet. My daughter was mailed an application and to my house address, and she's moved like 4 years ago to another state. So if she hated a candidate, she could possibly sign her name, mail here, vote here, and then go to another state and mail there, because all her paperwork has changed over. But I really think it's the poll workers, it's the clerks that are doing the most damage. You know, when you find 800 new votes and it swings the other way, it's just, but that was just another example of another way to cheat.
Sure.
Doing it this way.
Well,
that's all I have.
No, Brian, and I appreciate it. Brian, again, I'll use you as an example of what I talked about at the beginning of the show. This is going to be a clown show. This election cycle is going to be a clown show, and all the shows that are on around that time, whether this group is working together or it's just, Paul W. in the morning, Frank in mid-mornings, Guy in the afternoon, and Mitch in the evening, they're going to be bombarded for a long time with this. People are not going to buy the legitimacy of this election from the loser's perspective. I mean, because what winner is going to say, I'm not so sure about this. I don't, maybe we should recount those votes or have another vote or anything. They're not going to say that. That's just human nature. You won. Congratulations. We are the champions. Let the confetti fly. Whereas the losing side, God forbid a close election, is going to look at this, and it isn't just going to be the hanging chads in Florida. It's going to be a plethora of things. That's what Pandora's box has already been opened, man. I have no other way to say that. And in my mind, there was some craziness that was out there in 2016, okay? There was some craziness. You think that was bad? Now you're talking about mail-in ballots with all the horror stories that we've heard about people getting them or, delivered to dead people's houses or somebody that hasn't lived there for 7 months. Or 7 years. There's no way people are going to look at this legitimately if their side loses. So plan right now. Get your popcorn. 877-44 Mitch. That is the number. We have to take a look at traffic. Here's Michael Setz.
Thank you very much, Sean. In Wayne County, an accident on the Jeffries eastbound and Martin Luther King Boulevard that has the right lane blocked. Also in Wayne County, an accident on 94 westbound at Van Dyke that is blocking the left two lanes. Stop and go right now from Chalmers Street. And in Lyon Township, an accident on 96 eastbound at Novi Road that's blocking the right shoulder. Now WJR weather first from the Weather Channel.
Comfortable numbers in the forecast here to close down the work week and kick off the weekend. 63 degrees our low tonight. Some 50s up across northern parts of the state. And looking great here for our Friday forecast with sunshine, comfortable humidity, and 82 degrees, 83 on Saturday. I'm Scott Larimore at the Weather Channel on News Talk 760 WJR.
Access to treatment for infertility is not only care, can prevent hopeful parents from realizing their dreams of having a baby. But
Mitch 10's left. Does he listen to you guys? You guys lean right. I think of myself as a moderate. I would actually say I'm a left-leaning moderate, more so than a right-leaning moderate.
It depends who you talk to in regards to me. Some people will tell me that I'm a bleeding heart, and some people will tell me that I'm right of rush.
Yeah, I would say
it's
you're liberal.
I've heard everything, you know?
It's kind of like Guy. The liberal callers think he's too conservative, and the conservative callers think he's too liberal sometimes.
You know what? I don't like to. I know, Mike, you and I have had this conversation before. I think of myself as a conservative, but I don't tie my kite to anything, because I think today it's all about assimilation. Either you agree with me across the board, or you are the other guy, and I'm not that way. So I guess if you don't want to include me in your reindeer games, I'm not one of you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm not big on declaring a team either. I mean, I like to think of myself as a case by case or issue by issue. And much like science, my views are evolving as I get older and get more life experience.
Sure. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. For me, it's a case by case situation, and I unfortunately today we're so dug in. If you don't agree with this person or that person, if you disagree with Governor Whitmer, you're one of them. If you disagree with President Trump, you're one of them. Right. So I guess I would categorize myself as one of them, because I don't go lockstep with anybody. I like to think for myself. I do want less government in my life, so by theory, I guess that makes me conservative. Or is that more libertarian?
I mean, it's a conservative principle.
Yeah.
But like you said, just because you have a belief or a principle doesn't mean that's your totality, so to speak.
Less government's more leaning towards libertarianism.
Yeah. I just don't. I'm fine, thank you. I'll pay my taxes. I'm good. I promise I'll pay my taxes. Come after me if I don't, you know.
I have been seeing a lot of Joe Jorgensen for libertarian president going around with my I'm about that 35 to 40 demo. I see a lot of people my age. And I just think that's because people feel like either choice isn't very good. Everyone says they don't want to vote for the lesser of two evils, yet they keep nominating the quote unquote lesser of two evils. It's incredible.
Clay said you tend to vote for the person, not the party. Yes, and I've sat out a few elections. I'll leave it at that. I have sat out a few elections.
Same.
Yeah. There was one in particular. I wasn't voting for either human being. There was no way it was happening. I wasn't. You guys can guess all you want as to who that was. I wasn't voting for either human being.
Some people think that's like not you're the way to go, and I disagree.
I agree.
To feel like if I'm going to pull the lever, it better be someone that I want to be president, and if not, I have the right to not vote.
Yep. I'll go back to what Parson said. I really do think, Mike, that this election is more about I dislike that guy, so I'm voting for that guy. I think that's the overwhelming response to this election.
Our friend Rich Luzensky writes in his parents every year for president, which they're good people. I'd vote for them.
I want to go back to Mike too, but Stat's saying he pulls the lever. What voting place are you voting at? We were pulling the lever.
Figure of speech, Dave. We're not pulling.
What precinct are you voting at?
You're listening to the Mitch Albom Show on News Talk 760 WJR. Filling in for Mitch, Sean Baligian.
Rieger's something else in our Facebook Live conversation. Stets happened to use the term pull the lever. It sounds like something that Hugh Beaumont from Leave It to Beaver would say, right? And Rieger jumps on him immediately. Rieger, as I said, like honestly, I'm making a master list. I am making a master list of things that you don't like, and it's gonna be like War and Peace.
Put
Pull the levers
Stetz's
on that list.
Put Stetz's right to vote as a thing that Rieger hates.
It wasn't anything bad. I just was wondering what precinct is he voting at where he's pulling a lever? I've never pulled a lever in a voting precinct.
It's a figure of speech.
Yeah.
You whippersnapper. Let's go to Lansing. That's where we find Eddie. Eddie, thank you very much. You're on 760 WJR. Good afternoon, Eddie.
Yeah, hey, Sean. Really love your show. Thanks.
Thank
You're doing
you.
a great job.
Thank you.
The post office was never designed to handle accurately ballots like you would expect when you want the sanctity of an election to be preserved. There's too many hands, too many machines handling it. And I just wanted to relate an experience I had many years ago. I had a printing business, and we used to prepare commercial mailings all the time, both for ourselves and for our clients. And we would always seed the mail with addresses of staff members, about 10 or 12, to make sure that the mail arrived on a specific day, because we were very particular about when the mailings would arrive. In one particular mailing, none of our test pieces arrived. And so I went down to the regional hub and talked to them, because it was a 2,000-piece mailing. Said, hey, what's going on? None of our test pieces arrived. And I'll never forget his quote to me, exact words. Well, we don't guarantee delivery.
Oh.
2,000 pieces of postage, which we paid postage on.
Oh my God.
We don't guarantee delivery.
Oh, goodness gracious me. Eddie, it is interesting, especially, and I appreciate the perspective in the phone call here at 877-44-MITCH, and phone line open for you if you'd like to join the conversation. I'm the same type of way. There's something that you said that really struck a chord with me. I've been fortunate to be in this business for a while, but part of the fun about being in this business is doing some freelance stuff and broadcasting games and things like that, or doing some stuff on TV, whatever the case may be. And not that long ago, I knew exactly what day each one of those checks were coming, because after years and years of doing it, I knew when the check from Fox was coming before they went to electronic. I knew when the check from calling football games was coming. I knew when the check from calling hockey games was coming. I knew when the check from state champs was coming. That's been gone for like a couple of years. I'm not joking. There was a time, and I just went through this the other day because I got a check from a certain entity, and did some work a couple of weeks ago. Something, obviously games aren't going on, so I didn't have an opportunity to call it, but the details are not important. And I'm telling you, like clockwork in the past, this check would come every Saturday. And I noticed it sneak in last fall and into the winter and even into the spring. And then again, I just went through it. So a check that usually came in every single Saturday, like clockwork, started showing up Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So unfortunately, obviously they are working on the bare minimum right now. I think that's the best way to say it. And they're stretched thin, and that's going to be part of the routine. No doubt about that. Numbers, as always, 877-44-MITCH. I want to get to this story that I've been teasing in greater detail. In case you missed it, I've made reference to it a couple times. There was a Harvard coronavirus expert. This is from Harvard's University Global Health Institute and the Edmund J. Safra Center for Ethics, that said there are 13 states right now, if they had their way, 13 states that this very day would be locked down, and another 22 would already be considering lockdowns as it happens. But right now, the states that they're referring to as red risk level states, they said, quote, once a community reaches the red risk level, stay-at-home orders become necessary again. The 13 states, for what it's worth: Florida, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Arizona, Tennessee, Georgia, Nevada, South Carolina, Texas, Idaho, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. Michigan is not in that group. The other 8 task force red zone states, the Harvard study said California, Missouri, North Dakota, North Carolina, Utah, Iowa, Wisconsin, Kansas would fall into the orange zone. So, again, for what it's worth, according to this study out of Harvard, Michigan is not one of those red zone states. Boy, we better be careful using terms like red zone and blue zone with an election coming up in a couple months, right? Some people may take that very, very wrong. Let's go to Charlie in Redford hanging on the line. Charlie, thank you very much for your patience. You're on 760 WJR.
Okay, I have only one minor comment or two.
Okay.
If you remember the last election when Trump was running for election, for the presidential election, you had groups and committees, say at the University of Michigan, and most of the local universities pushing for voter registration for the young voters at the universities.
Sure.
You have voters, or you have students in particular from Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State, etc., that are out-of-state voters. They have a residency that is out of state.
Yes.
Yet they allowed them to vote in the state of Michigan, and they could call for an absentee vote ballot from their own state, thus, therefore, giving them 2 votes in that election. And I don't think that we have anything in place that stops that from occurring.
Oh, you know what's interesting? I grew up in an era, Dave Rieger, you may remember this, Michael Stetz, you may remember this. Mike, it might be a little bit before your time. I don't know. You can yell at me if you want. The 92 election is when I remember a massive movement by MTV in particular. Do you remember Rock the Vote? That was a massive effort in 1992 to get young people to respond. And if you remember, young people did respond in mass to President Clinton. George Bush lost the election. President Clinton became president. It is amazing to me because being of that age, it is amazing to me how many of those people that voted for President Clinton at the time, I'll tell you point blank, I was not one of them. It is amazing to me how many of those people through living life have changed their mind since 1992. I mean, I have a whole giant group of people that I have no other way to say it. They have changed their mind as they have gotten older. And it's interesting because we were talking about this during the break on our Facebook Live page. And, you know, Mike Parsons, you brought up the comment, you know, a lot of your views have been changing and it's changed as the time has gone on. And certainly I don't want to make the illusion that Mike Parsons is going from one end to the other end, but I think that's certainly what happened since the rock the vote aspect. All right, we've got a look at traffic with Michael Stetz. News at the bottom of the hour. I'll get into this Harvard story. Whatever is on your mind as well. 877-44-MITCH. Glad you could join us. Here's Michael Stetz and a look at traffic.
In Wayne County, an accident on the Jeffries eastbound at Martin Luther King Boulevard that has the right lane blocked. Also in Wayne County, some good news. That incident from earlier on 94 westbound at Van Dyke, that is now cleared. And in Lyon Township, more good news. An incident from earlier on 96 eastbound at Novi Road, that is now cleared as well. Now WJR weather first from the Weather Channel. Cloudy tonight with a low of 63 this evening, partly cloudy for Friday, with a high tomorrow of 82. Right now it's 79 degrees. I'm Michael Stetz, WJR News in 2 minutes.
Uh-oh. Looks like it's just us, Stetz.
Oh, well, by the way, Rieger is older than me, so there's no way he didn't once vote where you pulled a lever for the voting. The old school like you.
What was the first year you voted, Michael?
96.
Okay, because I do remember, maybe it was a state thing, because I do remember going to the polls with my parents, I think around 92, and I think they either had the punch out or they had the. I've never seen a lever around these parts, but
because we even had one in school. We had like a dummy one to do like in class, like you used it in class, like they brought one in.
Yeah.
But
we're
fucking pull the lever still, Sean.
Yeah, we're vetting Rieger's claims about no one ever pulling the lever. Oh, wait, hold on a second. Okay. What was that in Michigan, Clay? I'm guessing it was. I was just telling Mike, Sean, that I remember going to the voting booth with my parents in '92, the aforementioned '92.
Yeah.
And I never remember there being a lever, at least here in Michigan, but maybe it just depended.
I've never seen a lever in the voting booth ever.
That's amazing. We must have had old stuff where I was voting.
I did in my first election, '88. I did. I voted with the lever.
Right,
Okay.
so I'm not alone. Thank you.
So
Thank you,
86 Durand, Michigan, there was a lever.
Thank you for being there for me, Sean.
88. No, that I didn't vote. Let's see. My first voting would it have been 92?
President Trump met with public health officials.
92, I think.
I just made it under the wire as we were talking about earlier. That was my first one, '88.
I think mine was 92. So
I was 04.
No lever. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. I was just wondering,
Joke's on you, Dave.
Hater.
It's not anything negative. You guys are taking everything too seriously.
Yeah. Rieger likes to throw shade at me.
Come on.
Or to pay tribute to your favorite TikTok sandwich, Dave. Joke's on you.
I tried turning around. I got a knife in my back.
Oh, my.
That's how the kingpin rolls.
Oh, come on. Are you listening
Out of his
to
bowling
this?
ball with the dagger.
Listen to this. Oh, woe is me from Stats. Come on.
I feel like you two have a lot to talk about, and I appreciate if you didn't bleed all over the Facebook Live audience.
You know what's funny about that? We could have like a Brady Bunch scenario in here because Rieger and Stets could talk out their issues, and then you could get Roddy, and Roddy and I could talk out our issues because Roddy hates me right now. Well, Roddy's always hated me, but he really hates me right now.
Let's see if I can toss Dave this pen between frames. Let's see how it goes. That didn't work.
No. That was the worst throw I've ever seen.
Well, okay, Dave, you're like 360 degrees away from me. I have to throw it on a curve.
Oh my!
Is it wrong? Let me throw this at you. Something different. And you guys think, is it wrong that like I'm having panic attacks at the idea of my 20-year-old riding my truck right now? He's using my truck he has to take some stuff back to Chicago for school, right? And so I let him go today because he can take some stuff back and then come back tomorrow and then we'll take the rest of the stuff. I'm terrified of him using my truck. And I know I shouldn't be because he's a responsible kid. And I think you guys have met him, but I'm like literally I'm in a state of like panic. He left like an hour ago and I'm going,
he's a good kid.
He is a good kid.
Is it worrying about everything a pre-existing condition for being a parent?
Yes.
Is this the first time you've been worried about him traveling long distances?
Yes, because it's my truck, and he's not familiar driving a truck. Does that make sense?
I see.
What kind of truck is it?
Standard?
It's an F-150. It's an F-150. So he's used to, and so we went out and practiced a couple times, and he even said to me, he was like, "Oh, Dad, this is kind of intimidating." And I'm like, "Oh no."
What kind of car does he normally drive?
He's got a Focus. We got him a Ford Focus.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a dump in torque.
Yeah, a little bit.
He'll be fine. Don't worry.
Clay said, "Calm down, Dad." I know. That's what I'm trying to tell myself. But
the question is, did you pack him any of your favorite meats for snack?
I did actually. Yeah, I did. It's funny you say that. By
the way, speaking of meat snacks, I'm going to do jerky soon, Sean. That's
yes, do it. Yes.
A little note: enjoy the Slim Jim. Love, Dad.
Phil said, "Don't worry. If something happens to him, the truck, it won't be his fault anyways. It's always somebody else that messes with that."
I think maybe the accident itself is your source of worry, not so much your insurance liability.
Yeah.
If it makes you feel any better, I went from a Chevy Malibu to a Chevy Silverado. I've had no problems at all.
Look, as the first guy to scratch up the new Lions van when we got it, I can't give him any tips. Shout out to my brother-in-law, Bob.
What up, Bob?
And Bar, keeping me updated.
I don't think I'll ever go back to a car again. I gotta.
Well, sedans are going away, so you're not going to have a choice.
Those new Broncos are awesome, man. They remind me that they're like the old school ones.
Yeah.
Because my dream truck, if I live in like a coastal town, is to get an old school K5 Blazer.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah, right.
Like the one Chief Brody has in Jaws.
Yeah.
It always comes back to Jaws.
Sharks in the water.
Only if I live in a small coastal town.
Yeah.
It
Not
always
an
comes back
Amity.
to Jaws.
Not an Amity.
And amity, as you know, means friendship.
You're listening to the Mitch Albom Show on News Talk 760 WJR. Filling in for Mitch, Sean Baligian.
Well, having fun here on a Thursday night. Hopefully you are as well. 877-44-MITCH is the number. Can I ask you guys something? Because we were talking about this a little bit during the break. The news of the day gets to be too much, right? I mean, whether you are somebody like, say, Mike Parsons, you're at the radio station all day, you're hearing doom and gloom from either side. Rieger at the radio station for hours. Stetz at the radio station for hours. Somebody's complaining about this. Somebody's complaining about that. There's a conspiracy. Then you can't go out and do, what you were used to doing. I told both Mike Parsons and Dave Rieger a few days ago, I really miss going to a movie theater. That's like the thing that I miss. But have you had during this time, and Mike, this is coming out of the left field. I'm sorry this just popped in my brain as we were talking during the break. Have you during this time found a Zen place for you? Where you go to just to get away from the latest coronavirus, the latest political thing, whatever the case may be. Have you found your Zen place? Because I'm telling you, for me, I have daydreams about my smoker. I think about not only what I just did, but what I'm going to do over the weekend, what I'm going to do for the playoffs. When I'm a big hockey guy, when there's a hockey game on at noon all the way till 10:30. Have you, Mike Parsons, found your Zen, your escape from the craziness that we've been living through for the last few months?
Well, I remember when all this stuff was new and you were getting the running tally on the death tolls, and then they started giving you the ages of people who were dying, and I was saying on the news that the people who were dying of the virus were getting down into my age group, and I remember at a certain point I said, enough is enough. I'm turning off the news until 11 o'clock. And luckily, Comedy Central just about every night shows an office marathon, which, was my show. That's one of my security blanket shows. You've seen it a billion times.
Mm-hmm.
And, you put it on the background when you want some background noise, but you don't have to pay attention. So what I guess my Zen place was just turning off the news until the 11 o'clock news, because the constant just watching and barragement about death tolls and symptoms and risk factors became a little bit too much. So I've actually limited my news consumption and just changing the channel. To me, that's kind of been my Zen place.
That's a great because early on, as you were talking about that, it almost seemed like every night there was a news update from Italy. You remember when we were just getting the latest update on what was going on in Italy almost on a daily basis? Because if I heard this once, I heard it 1,000 times. We're about 10 days behind Italy with something that certainly was out there. A couple people said, Clay, this has been a go-to for me forever. My family doesn't understand it. My wife finally, after all these years, gets it. Clay on Facebook Live said, I jump in the car and go for a drive. I cannot tell you how many times I've done that in my life. And, 15, 20 years ago, it was like, where did you go? Now she gets it.
Sean,
That's
you might
just
find this
something
ironic.
I
but,
like to do.
You might find this ironic, but my Zen place has been the entire catalog of the Resident Evil series on the PlayStation. Ironically, battling the T-virus is the main thing in this video game.
No kidding. Really?
Yeah.
Are you winning? Are you beating the T-virus?
I am.
That
I am. Yes.
Maybe that's like a control. It makes you feel like you're in control over the virus.
Oh, now I hear Bane. Do you feel like you're in control? I don't feel like I'm in control. That's the problem. Joy said camping. Sometimes it's good. Boy, I tell you, I know you know this, Mike Parsons. If I had my way, I'd live in the middle of nowhere. I wouldn't have a family, and that's why I don't live in the middle of nowhere, because nobody else would go with me. But I would love to go in the middle of nowhere.
They'd come see you on Father's Day for a half hour, and that's it.
Right? Yeah. Let's go to our buddy, Greg, Mr. Positive in Shelby Township. Always a pleasure to hear from Greg. Hey, bud.
Hey, Shawnee B, Kingpin Rieger, and Mikey Parsons. Great stuff. Hey, can we handle another shutdown? Unequivocally not. We're social animals. We're social beings. We need interaction. People are going psychotic and crazy. And it's very sad because you can only read so many books. You can only exercise outside, walking and going to schools and trying to figure out how am I going to do the biceps and the latissimus dorsis and the quadriceps and the bicep femoris. We've got to get out and about, Shawnee B. You're right. It's just it can't happen. I love my boy Elvis. I listen to him. Other than that, I watch TV. I'm watching Armageddon. You just gotta get out, and it's driving me crazy. People already think I'm a little bit out there, and I'm even worse.
Greg, you know what? I mean, you're A-okay in my book for what it's worth, and thank you for the phone call. And I'm going to say social distance. You know what I do? I have taking long walks. I do this jog walk thing. I used to run a lot, and then I had an accident a couple of years ago. I can't run so much anymore, so I do this jog walk thing. And when somebody's coming on the sidewalk, I just kind of move the other way. You see them coming from about 20 feet. I'll maybe move out in the sideway, give them a wave and everything. I'm down with that. But, Greg, there are too many people out there that, as you said, even if you said, listen, this will all go away, total lockdown, 100%, shut her down, pull the plug for 2 weeks. It's inconceivable that that's going to happen. People don't want to wear masks. So they're going to go, well, okay, I don't want to wear a mask, but I'll stay inside for the next 2 weeks. It's pie in the sky idealism. It's not realistic. Sorry. All right, we got to take a look at traffic now here on 760 WJR. Here he is, Michael Stats.
Some good news in Warren County. That incident from earlier on 696 westbound at Ryan Road, that is now cleared. In Wayne County, an accident on the Jeffries eastbound at Martin Luther King Boulevard that has the right shoulder blocked. Expect delays in that area. And also in Wayne County, an accident on the Southfield southbound at Schoolcraft. That's blocking the right lane. Traffic right now, stop and go from McNichols. Now WJR weather first from the Weather Channel.
Lower humidity behind us. Cold front feeling nice here to close down the work week. 63 downtown with some 50s north side. 82 Friday afternoon with sunshine and low 80s with comfortable humidity Saturday. Rain showers return Sunday, Monday, early next week. I'm Scott Laurie, more at the Weather Channel on News Talk 760 WJR.
Where'd Sean go?
Left us.
Break time.
Patrick, my wife and I are hermits anyway, so we're trained for this.
I think a fun thing to do to pass the time during the quarantine is to watch disaster movies.
The which movies?
Disaster movies. Like I think what Mr. Positive just said he watched Armageddon.
Oh, you know what? There's actually a show my wife and I watch called 911, and I remember this pandemic. I'm like, I can't deal with any. I can't deal with any suspense.
Lauren and I watched Outbreak. I mean, you could watch Contagion, which is not too far from what's going on now.
You're a sadist, man.
You could watch San Andreas with The Rock. I have a big man crush on The Rock. So that's
yeah. Like to go for walks with my dachshund Frankie.
Hence why I'm playing the Resident Evil games where we're battling the T virus. The same thing.
Right. The first Resident Evil is a great horror movie.
Resident Evil is a good horror movie. It's a great game also. Also playing Madden. That's a lot of fun. NHL, NBA, MLB.
My favorite thing about this pandemic is waking up alive in the morning and going, yes.
Yeah.
That's how I escape. Mr. Positive really gave us an anatomy lesson there.
What was he talking about?
Were those real muscles he was talking about?
Yeah, what was Mr. Positive talking about?
Yeah, he was getting deep on the muscles.
It's a true anatomy lesson from Mr. Positive.
Well, I said at the beginning of the pandemic that the people watching Contagion during this pandemic are the same kids who would do Bloody Mary in the mirror and back in sleepovers.
Go back to that last comment. Someone was mentioning B movies. I have to give them their there you are, Patrick.
Yes, I know you're a big B.
They are great, Patrick. I love you. I like the cut of your jib, Patrick.
What's the one with Dustin Hoffman? The one that came out like in 1995. Outbreak. I'm talking to the pilot in the plane. Do not drop that bomb.
It all worked out great. They grabbed the chopper. He jumped on a boat. Investigated the den where the guy slept. I mean,
that was the Ebola virus, correct?
Yes.
It was that monkey. Remember the monkey who spread it?
It was the Ebola virus. Yeah.
He bit somebody or something, right?
Bought it on the black market and took it to the U.S.
And then they scared us. Remember, the little girl was in the backyard, and then there was the evil monkey, and you're going, "No, little girl, stay away from the evil monkey."
All we have to do is find that damn monkey who infected the first person with COVID and make him feel bad.
I think it's
Patrick Dempsey. I said Patrick Stewart. Patrick Dempsey.
Wait a minute,
Soylent Green.
You said the monkey.
It's people.
It's people.
Sean, you said Gleek the monkey. Was that the Wonder Twins monkey?
Yeah, the Wonder Twins. That Gleek was the biggest troublemaker. Damn Gleek. I'm convinced he has something to do with this.
Have you ever tried Soylent Green on your egg sandwiches?
No. I don't know why you guys are ripping the egg cheese sandwich. It was brilliant.
So we're driving in on the egg. We're driving.
It was delightful.
He's like, I made this egg and cheese sandwich on TikTok, and
It
I'm
was
like,
delightful.
You needed a video on how to make an egg and cheese?
You watched the video. You thought it was.
Not only did your mom torture you with bad food, she didn't even give you a basic.
You're listening to the Mitch Albom Show on News Talk 760 WJR. Filling in for Mitch, Sean Baligian.
I have to laugh to you, Mike Parsons. Somebody named Jessica pointed out on Facebook Live during the commercial break that I refer to you as Mike Parsons. And I do refer to you as Mike Parsons. And I don't know why I refer to you as Mike Parsons and not Mike or Michael or Parsons.
Well,
you're just Mike Parsons to me.
My guess is because everyone in the 80s was naming their kids Mike. So in any one location, case in point, Mike Parsons, Michael Stetz, there's more than one Mike. So, I've been used to being called just by my last name my whole life, so it's not that weird to me.
Okay, yeah, I never realized that, and Jessica pointed out that I call you Mike Parsons because, well, you're Mike Parsons, and that's his sister. Hi, Jessica Parsons. Thank you for listening. 877-44-MITCH is the number. Certainly want to get your thoughts in. Ruth in Sterling Heights. Thanks for your patience. You're on 760 WJR. What's on your mind tonight, Ruth?
Hi, Sean. I just wanted to make a comment about the whole virus and the way we're kind of looking at this. First of all, we're looking at a virus. We're not, I know you previously, in a previous call, you had said that maybe we can eradicate this thing at some point in time. And I'm not a medical person. I like to read a lot of medical things, but my understanding of viruses is that they will mutate over time and become a different virus. Every year we have a flu bug that goes around. The flu strain one year is one way, and then the next year They realize it's a different strain. And I really think to some degree we're fooling ourselves if we think we're going to totally eradicate this virus. I think what we'll see over the time in the years to come, I mean, hopefully at some point it'll die off, but we don't know that for sure. And so I think what we really need to look at closely is how can we keep it from getting worse, you know, like, okay, so social distancing, fine. Wearing masks, well, I'm not quite on board with that, but I do it, you know what I'm saying, to be considerate of others. But, I mean, we've had strep viruses, we've had staph viruses, we have all those things that have been around for years, and we've learned how to deal with them versus, oh no, we got to stay in our homes and do nothing with anybody else because we're going to catch it. And I just don't think that that's a wise way of thinking versus thinking that we should be prudent to wash our hands. And you don't hear a ton of washing hands. And, you know, I was at the beginning of this virus a big proponent of wearing gloves because I thought, you know, wearing gloves is probably a good thing but you have to also still be careful not to touch your face and other areas that, you know, you can contract the germs for it, you know. So,
Ruth,
you know, my
I love
daughter
your
works in
comments.
medical. Yeah, my daughter works in medical.
Go ahead. I'm
field.
sorry.
I'm sorry. And she goes, you know, Mom, she says, the fallacy is people think that if you wear a mask and you don't go anywheres, that you're not going to expose yourself. She said, the reality is we've all been exposed at some point in time. The difference is we haven't all caught it. So there is some kind of substance, I think, to the fact that our body does have a certain immune system defense. It may not be the full amount what we need, but I think for the fact that not every single person that's been ever exposed to this through somebody that we don't even know has not gotten the virus.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
No, I do. And Ruth, let me say this. I mean, honestly, of people that have called in doing these shows, to hear you say that, to say that you and I are in lockstep would be an understatement. I feel the exact same way, and I've tried to convey that on the air. I think you did a better job of explaining it than I did, and I appreciate that, Ruth in Sterling Heights. Thank you for the phone call. Listen, this isn't going anywhere. It's not. This is something that we're going to have to deal with, and that's why I've had this conversation in a plethora of ways with callers. So many people want to talk about that which we don't know. I am somebody, I like to deal with what I know. And here's what I know in 6 months, that we were told at various times vitamin D was going to do it. We were told it stuck to service, then it didn't stick to service. We were told if we lock down, we were told if we mask up. We've been told many things. And you know what the one constant has been during 6 months? The COVID. That's the one constant. And that's why, to me, the talk of taking a step backwards and locking down, or as the caller said yesterday, 24 hours ago, right around the same time, what we really need to do is do a total lockdown. Number one, a total lockdown is never going to happen because people are not going to adhere to it. And we already saw that the lockdown isn't going to eradicate this. So if anything, I want you to at least say, all right, I don't agree with the guy, but at least he's consistent. I've said this once, I'll say it 10,000 times. We cannot play hide and seek with this thing. We have to learn to live. We have to keep going. That period. And that means, practice social distancing, wash your hands, common sense things. Absolutely. Hiding didn't work, and it's not going to work again. It's just not. That's the way it is. And again, in a perfect world, every single human being would go inside their house and lock their doors and nobody would go outside. It's not going to happen. You know it as well as I do, for goodness sake, you know? Phil brought up something great. Phil on Facebook Live. And Phil, thank you for the kind words. They're greatly appreciated. He said, you got to watch The Matrix, where everyone is plugged into the system, sort of like modern day cell phones and social media dictating what your brain knows, and reality is hard to find. Phil, I couldn't agree with you more. Listen, I say it all the time, and I'm somebody that uses Twitter. It's a cesspool. It's an absolute cesspool. You know, but again, I'm the type of person that much like you said, Phil, I'm not going to believe everything that I read. I don't think there's it's wrong to question things. I don't think it's wrong to ask, why do you think this way? And it kind of surprises me because a lot of people today on either side will say, well, why are you asking questions? What, don't you want to ask questions? What are you basing this on? What data are you using to come to this conclusion? I think that's a very, very legitimate point. Patty, you're going to be the last call. Patty, thanks for your patience. You're on 760 WJR.
Well, thanks for taking my call. I just wanted to respond to, I believe your other caller was Bruce.
Yes.
The previous caller?
Yes.
Okay, she actually had a lot of good comments, but I do work in the medical field as a nurse practitioner.
Okay.
And I've had quite a few classes on COVID-19. And I think what people need to understand is, you want to wash your hands, but the main way this disease is spread is through the air. And so mask wearing is what you need to do.
I'm down with
I think people were confused in the beginning because they were like, and my husband was one of them. He made me put the groceries away for 3 days, and we had to wash them off. But I've been in healthcare a long time, almost 40 years, and very few diseases do you catch from surfaces. And so you really, the mask wearing is what really makes a difference. And she is correct, though, that viruses do mutate. And, I don't think this is truly going to go away. I think we'll get a vaccine and then it'll mutate and we'll adjust the vaccine. But I think we can control it a lot better than we are right now.
Well stated, Patty. Appreciate the perspective. And certainly as somebody who has lived it, Patty in Brooklyn, thank you very much. Flew by tonight. I want to thank all of you for not only listening, calling in, participating, good, bad, or indifferent. Certainly the Facebook Live group was outstanding tonight. Thank you. It was a lot of fun. Michael Parsons, there you go. That's for you and your sister. Mr. Rieger, Stets, thank you for everything you guys do. We will talk again tomorrow. You have a marathon of me tomorrow. You poor people. 5 straight hours of me tomorrow? Oh, goodness gracious. Have yourselves a fantastic evening. Michael Stets with Traffic next on 760 WJR.
In the city, you're stop and go right now on 75 northbound between Dearborn Street and the Ambassador Bridge. In Wayne County, an accident on the Jeffries eastbound at Martin Luther King Boulevard that's blocking the right shoulder. And also in Wayne County, some good.
Thanks, everybody.
Is that the lovely Danielle in the background?
It is.
Hi, Danielle.
I can't hear you. Danielle.
All right.
Sean
Say
says hi.
All right, see you guys. Thanks, Facebook Live. Thank you, Mike Parsons.
You got it, Sean.
Thank you, India. Thank you, Providence. All right, we'll see you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.